What's good, people? Welcome back to another episode of London Boy Podcast. It's your host, Vinny, and I'm back again with another special guest, my cousin, Gero. Montana, how's it going, Gero?
How you doing, Vinny? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you very much. Just trying to keep it consistent, doing this little idea in my head and, still working, just trying to make things happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, look, I've been listening to your previous shows,
Yeah.
and they've been brilliant. The guests that you've had on the shows, I've been very, very impressed with the content and their knowledge and their enthusiasm for business, and really doing well for
Oh,
themselves.
wicked, thank you. And which show or episode is your favourite one you've listened to?
Well, there's a couple that come to mind.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was about like kind of almost like facing your fears. I remember you had I can't remember the person's name, but you were talking about jumping out of a plane.
Yeah.
Not sure about jumping out of the plane, and it kind of like whether it's jumping out of a plane or whether it's making the decision to start a business or just anything in life. I guess those fears are very similar, although they're very different things altogether. Jumping out of a plane and starting a business is completely different, but the fears are very similar.
Yeah.
Is it something going to fail, or am I going to get hurt, or So it was very, very interesting. I found those very, very good.
What's the second one that comes to mind that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I think you had a guest from America, right?
Yeah, he's called Jamar. He's from the music industry, and he went into politics, and it's quite interesting. Just picking his brain. Because to be honest, I learned something myself. I was mainly just listening on that one rather than just saying what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. Again, the content that he has was awesome.
Yeah.
So it was like I said, really good to listen to his life experiences and where his life is taking him and where it's potentially going. So no, like I said, there's been some fantastic speakers that you've had. So anybody that hasn't listened to previous shows, get on there and listen to them.
Definitely, Jared, definitely. And do you just want to introduce yourself to the listeners, tell them where you're from, how we know each other, and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So obviously, I've got my name is Gero. I was born in North London, brought up in North London, and I run a business. I've been running a business for 18 years in the kitchen industry. So we design and install kitchens for the domestic market. Yeah, so that's what I do.
Wicked. And how do we know each other and that kind of stuff?
All right. Well, you're my cousin. I think you mentioned already. We've known each other for a very long time. Obviously, I've known you for many, many years, and we keep in touch on the phone. We bounce ideas off each other, business ideas, and it's nice to have that kind of like that relationship where you can just talk to each other honestly and openly about things, and it's nice to be able to bounce things off each other.
Of course. And one thing I like about our conversation is that it's very open, and I sort of get a lot of advice. You're quite a few years older than me, so you pass down like life advice, business advice, and I sort of, it puts things into perspective, which I can apply with my own life, whether it's work or just everyday issues.
Yeah, well, this is it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm 39 now. I'm going to be turning 40 next year. So, it's obviously there's been a lot of life experiences that I've gone through. So I'm more than happy to help. And if somebody can kind of take a couple of shortcuts in life and learn from what I've done, or if not learn from what I've done, kind of take some pointers and maybe apply them to their own lives or whatever they decide to do, in their career or even in their personal life.
Of course. All right, let's start off. What made you want to, get into that business full time and think, this is what I want to do for the next 10 years, 15 years, and now obviously you said 18 years now.
Yeah, I guess for me, I went into this industry with a view of, will I enjoy it? Because for me, I think the most important thing when you go into an industry or whatever you decide to do is, you need to enjoy the work. You enjoy the work that you're doing. If you have a passion for something, then it's even better because it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
So if there's a passion of something that you like to do, then you're kind of like halfway there. And then obviously it was to do with finding an industry that's going to give me a good return for what I want in life. So obviously most people think about the monetary side of it and think, right, okay, I want to earn X amount of money. But actually the way I look at it is, how's this business going to get me the things that I want? So, I wanted to buy a house, and I want to buy a house because I, want to have a family in my house. I want to be able to go on a holiday. I want to be able to buy myself a car. So those are kind of like the goals that I set, and I think that's what I want. And then I'm going to use the business as my obviously to navigate me towards my goals.
It's like your vehicle.
Exactly, yeah. It's like my vehicle, So I didn't really concentrate too much on the money side of it. It's like, first things first, what are my goals? And, what is that going to say cost me, time-wise? What is it going to cost me money-wise? And then, then kind of like work towards that.
And would you say that it's improved the hard work you put into the business, it's improved the quality of your life,
100%. Yeah. Listen, it hasn't been easy. It's never easy running your own business. You put in a lot of hours, but you reap the rewards at the end of it. And I think the important thing with it is that when you do start a business, it's kind of I think especially with what's going on at the moment, moving with the times and adapting, changing. Exactly. Well, I guess that kind of applies to everything in life, right? Because if you carry on doing the same thing over and over again, and you don't adapt to the environment, then you start falling behind.
Of course.
You see it in football. You see some football managers that have got very old-fashioned way of training and running their teams, and they end up falling behind the new generation of managers that run their teams slightly differently.
Of course. So it's adaptation that's transferable. You can apply that to any area of your life, any industry.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned you're nearly been in business for almost 20 years now, and there's sort of like preconception out there where people think that things happen overnight. Like people see a successful person and they see them driving the flash car, they see the big house, but they don't really realize the blood, sweat and tears that went into it. And obviously you've been in the business nearly 20 years. You can honestly say it didn't happen overnight, did it? The success part of it,
Not at all. It's what people tend to see is, they see that I have a showroom there. They see that, I drive around in a decent car, and they think, look at what he's got, look at what he's achieved. And a lot of people probably don't realize how hard you work to get to that. It's almost like, have you ever seen like an iceberg and you see it coming out of water and you think to yourself, wow, that's a big iceberg. But, below that, it's 2, 3, 4 times bigger than that. And basically what people tend to see is they tend to see the tip of that iceberg and think, oh man, look at that person. That person's doing okay. But they don't see all the background work, the underground work, all the stuff that happened, before they got to that position. And it is difficult. It's not easy. And, you're never going to find it easy. There's going to be time and there's going to be effort that you're going to put into it. But again, this goes back down to the whole kind of thing of enjoying what you do and having a passion for what you do, because it won't feel like work if you enjoy doing what you're doing. The effort, it doesn't feel like it's effort. And when you get there in a satisfied manner. Do you get what I'm saying?
Of course. And just for a little bit of context, obviously you've been in the industry 18 years. How, if you don't mind sharing, how many years did it take for you to start seeing some serious gains and think, it's I can say it's working now,
I would say in terms of getting ourselves up and running, what I would say maybe 5 years before we've really started seeing the true benefits. Because for us, we're the type of business where reputation is really important, and also we're a ticket item. So it's not like people are buying like a £200 or £400 phone, or It's not like, it's a florist where you spend £30 and you trial some of, £30 bouquet of flowers. Oh, these are really nice. Okay, I feel more comfortable. There's something called a confidence curve, and if you go up, you're looking at kind of confidence. If you go across, you're looking at time.
Yeah.
And obviously, it took a lot of time to get the confidence curve to a position where it starts going up with confidence. So because it's such a big ticket item, but as soon as people started kind of recommending us, and they started talking about us locally, and obviously and also on top of that, things like the advertising that we did, it really started kicking off after about 5 years for us and the type of business we are.
Yeah. So from what you're saying, reputation pretty much speaks for itself after. It's just it's the consistency builds reputation.
Exactly. I mean, look at Apple. Apple have got a decent reputation. They've got good phones, and they offer a good customer service when you go into one of their stores. If there's something wrong with your phone, a lot of the time they'll just replace your phone if it's obviously within a warranty period. They don't quibble about that. They just say, right, we'll give you a new phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what people remember. And you've got a good business that when something goes wrong, it's not what goes wrong that's the biggest issue. It's how you deal with that.
How you deal with it.
And exactly. And if you deal with it correctly, with whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter what goes wrong. It's how you deal with that, and then people will then talk about it and say, "Do you know what? This went wrong, but this is how they dealt with it." And I was so impressed.
Of course.
So that's another angle that you've got to look at.
Yeah, and you just mentioned mistake, how you deal with the hurdles and all that kind of stuff, and obviously the pandemic. That's a perfect example, where businesses have to adapt to it. Pandemic aside, because I'm sure that affected everyone negatively. In those 18 years, I'm sure you must have faced a lot of hurdles.
Yeah. I mean, we went through one very big recession. Many years back. I think it's 2008. I think it was, off the top of my head. Yeah, so obviously we worked through that. There was a lot of competitors that went under around that time. We managed to stick around that. Obviously, we have this pandemic now. Our showroom has been shut for almost a year. So we've had to adapt.
Yeah.
I like my saying, which is, if something doesn't work, change your approach.
Yeah.
So looking at using Zoom as an example, or Teams to communicate and connect with customers. So we can do walkthroughs of our showrooms over Zoom, and we've been showing our kind of our computer aided drawings via Zoom as well. So we've adapted to the situation, and obviously I think it's the 12th of April we can get back to normality and open our showroom doors again.
Not too long now.
No, not at all.
Good, yeah. So hurdles. That's something. As long as you change your approach, and you'd eventually overcome it. So
exactly. Yeah, and I think another thing that I think is really important is to talk and to communicate.
Yeah.
So what we tend to do in our industry, we started talking to each other, all the different retailers. We're like, how are you guys getting on? What are you doing? And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people in business do. When things start going wrong, they close up, and they think it's just them. Nobody else is going through that issue that they're going through, and they don't talk, and then they put themselves down, and they start putting themselves under a lot of pressure. And the one advice I would always say to people is, just talk, just speak to people, whether it's your bank manager, or whether it's friends, or whether it's people in the industry. Just communicate, because one, you'll feel better in yourself that you've actually communicated and you've got things off your chest. Two, you may be able to bounce some ideas off of someone else to think, oh, you know what, I haven't thought about that. I'm going to try that. And three, it would just be so much better for, your mental health in terms of getting things going. Because, when you run a small business, if you don't have anybody else around you, then you've only got yourself to rely on. Unless you talk to other people and see if you can get support from elsewhere.
Yeah, 100%. And when you say from people, Is it just from anyone, or are they experts in a particular field?
So there's different. I mean, I'm part of. I have contacts in various different spheres. So obviously, one is people in my industry, as I mentioned before. So other kitchen retailers, bouncing ideas off each other. There's also magazines, industry magazines. So reading through those, see what's going on in the country. There's also I'm part of a networking group called Network Business International. So we basically network with each other, and these are all businesses. They're all independent businesses, and there's loads of different people in different industries. So basically, we chat with each other and give each other support, and we just kind of figure out how we're going to move forward with our business and how we're going to move forward with the current situation that we're in.
Of course, I'm glad you touched on that on the networking side, because there's a saying where it's your network is your net worth, and have you heard that sort of old saying? It's not really what you know, it's who you know as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think you've mentioned it a few times previously in your shows, but I completely agree with that.
Especially now, you could obviously speaking for myself, the podcast is one example, because the more sort of people I meet through life, through everyday, like the more connections I make, the more interesting guests I can have in the show. And it's the same as well in my industry as well. I'm in the industry, and the more people I meet, the more sort of referrals I have, for like clients and that kind of stuff. It just helps out, just like getting to know different people and building the right network, and just being friendly in general.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think in this day and age, we need to expand our networks, and you've got to think about you're probably 4 or 5 steps away from like the dream person you want to speak to. So I'll tell you a story. I was in a training event for my BNI, and there was someone that stood up and said, "I want an introduction to Richard Branson." Now there was about 80 people in this room, and someone in the room knew Richard Branson. It was just unreal.
That's crazy.
And he goes, "You know what? I know him, but I'm not prepared to give you that contact. It would be great if we, let's meet up after the meeting. Let me know what you do. See how let's find out exactly what you do and what kind of service you offer. If you're good at what you do, and then I'll happy to speak to him and see if I can pass those details on." I don't know how that ended up, to be honest with you, but I don't know if you've heard this saying, "Know, like, and trust." Yeah, so you might know someone, and that's fine. You know that person. If someone that if you knew someone very influential, someone really, really famous, if you knew someone, how likely would you to give them that contact if they were looking for that person? Maybe you might not give it to them because you just know that person. If you like that person, you think, do you know what? I like this person. I think there's a better chance for me to give him this kind of connection. But if you trust someone, that's another level altogether. So, when it comes to networking, it's all about gaining people's trust.
Exactly.
And once you've gained someone's trust, when you ask for help, so going back to times when you're struggling, asking for someone for help with someone that trusts you, they'll go over and above to try and help you out.
Definitely, man, definitely. And that just doesn't apply to business. That applies to, everyday life as well, like friendship and family,
100%, yeah. I mean, yesterday I was helping a friend of mine move house. He's moved from one flat to another flat, and he's one of my best friends. I trust him with my life, this guy, and as soon as he asked me, "Look, G, I really need your help," I didn't even second guess. I was like, "You know what? I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'm coming. I'll come around tomorrow. I'll help you out." That's because I built up that trust, and I really like him, and built up that bond, that friendship.
Yeah. 100%. Is like, I'll give you an example. Like, I know a lot of people, but because I know a lot of people doesn't mean I like a lot of people. The people that I do get along with, I might not necessarily trust them. So I'll give an example. Like, you know, my friend David, the one you spoke about, the fear episode.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's like one of my best friends, and we like slowly sort of like built like a strong friendship. And like at times, like when sort of the pandemic hit and I was made redundant from a previous job, he was probably like one of the only friends that was sending me job adverts. And funny enough, the job advert that he sent me, he took it on, and I got it, you know. And even with like the podcast as well, he's helped me a lot with the cover art and everything, you know. So when you build that trust, man, you can really go a long way, you know. And you don't, it's not just one sided. Like, you help each other, like, moving forward, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's also very, very key.
Yeah.
I really do believe in. Do you know what I do believe in is giving back.
Yeah.
Whether you give back to friends or you give back to in a form of charity.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm part of a charity called Connections, and it helps young teenagers to get through life. You know, teenagers that maybe haven't had a good start in life. You know, maybe had family problems, or just maybe mixing in the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
And they just need someone to kind of help them and guide them through, that journey that they're going through.
Yeah.
And I love that, giving back to the community and giving back to people and helping people, because again, it makes you feel good as well.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, there's not many people that are sort of giving back. There's a lot of people, and especially in the city, that they lack guidance, and it might not be their fault. They might have. They might have been dealt a bad hand,
Yeah. I never ever now, as I've got older, I've learned not to prejudge.
Yeah.
Like you look at people, walking around the streets. You see some people, what they wear, the kind of cars they drive, where they live, and you think, before when I was younger, I used to just prejudge and think, you stereotype, right?
Yeah.
You think, that person drives a really nice car, they must be rich, or this person kind of is dressed, with like 25-year-old mash-up trainers and like random t-shirt, But I know a guy. He's a millionaire. He's a builder, and he just walks around in like dirty t-shirts and trainers. Yeah, right. Yeah. But then I also know people that are driving around in brand new cars. But they haven't got much to live on. They're probably still living at home, and the car isn't theirs. They don't own the car. It's rented or it's leased, or So I think it's important not to prejudge people, and what you see, people doing. Just don't take it with a pinch of salt. But you just don't know.
Yeah, definitely, and. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what made you want to specifically go into that charity of where you're, giving guidance to teenagers and that sort of stuff,
So when I started, I've been in this BNI, business network for 13 years now.
Wow.
And I had like I call him a mentor. Who. But when I was younger, I never used to wear a shirt. I used to go in like jumpers, and I used to go reasonably smart, and maybe I wasn't, I didn't really pay attention as much as I should have. And he basically took me under his wing and he said, "Look, Gero, you really need to smarten up. I'm not saying it because I'm trying to be disrespectful. I'm saying it because I think that your business will improve and benefit from you dressing up, wearing a shirt and trousers, because the type of business you are in, it's a high ticket number. So people are going to expect you to dress a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's not right, because you should be allowed to dress how you want to dress, right? But unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the world where they have, they'll stereotype.
Yeah.
If your accountant came to you dressed up in trainers and a t-shirt, you might think, well, I don't expect my accountant to dress like that. So and unfortunately, it's kind of like it's just human nature. Not everybody is like this, but a lot of people are like this. So I started changing the way I dress. So I started wearing a shirt and trousers and shoes, and I used to prepare for my meetings, and there's various things that I did that were different. And he mentored me, and I started getting more business because of that.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to give back now. So obviously, someone mentored me, so I want to mentor someone else and help them. And for me, that's kind of like, I feel quite passionate about that. If you can help at least one other person in life get that kickstart, then it feels good for you, and also it's good for them, right?
Definitely. And it's so funny you mentioned about the bit about the shirt where you had to sort of smarten up to adapt to that sort of crowd, that sort of target market. It's so funny. I'll tell you a funny story of where I sort of started in my current role, and now I'm sort of more sort of well spoken with customers because it's also a high ticket industry. And but first, I was dealing with someone, and he had a would you call it a perception or a pre-perception? And he basically complained to like a director or a manager saying, "Oh, because I sort of have, I lived 17 years of my life in inner city London, and I sort of have a London accent." And this customer basically said to my manager or my director saying, "Oh, he's just some guy you got from the street." And then my director turned around and says, like, "Listen, like, this guy, he's got a law degree, he's got this going on, and he's got that going on, It's just so easy to like prejudge people. But I've sort of learned to adapt now. I always dress smart. I always try and be as polite and as well spoken as I can be, because it's just the industry. People are going to prejudge. But that's just the way. That's just what you signed up for, It's the nature of the beast.
Yeah. I mean, it's across the board though as well, So until you get to a position where I don't know, if you were Steve Jobs, the guy that basically ran Apple, like he could probably walk in and wear whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. People know who he is, right? Yeah. So if he decided to go somewhere in t-shirt and trainers and shorts, it wouldn't matter to a degree because they know who he is. So I guess when you get to a certain level. I mean, all of these superstars, these pop stars, I mean, you see the kind of things they wear. They wear whatever they want because they are who they are, right? So, unfortunately, people working in like that working class or middle class, you're kind of like, you're expected to wear whatever you're wearing within your industry. And it does, I guess from experience, it gets easier as you move up the chain of command, right? So, that's what I've experienced anyway.
Yeah. All right. So let's we'll deep into it. So let's say you've got 18 years in the industry, and you're nearly you're 40 next year. Did you say?
Yeah.
All right. Can we just do a quick sort of fire sort of round? In the last 20 years, what are the top 5 lessons you've learned in business? And then I'm going to ask you your top 5 lessons you learned in life. Just growing up.
Okay, so start with business.
Yeah, start with business.
Okay, so with business, I'd say one. We've probably covered some of these already. Not to prejudge. Not to prejudge. So customers that come into the shop, don't prejudge them. Work through it. You never, these people, you don't know where they're from, what they've done, what they have. So I treat everybody equally.
Yeah.
Number 2, making sure that you make sure your cash flow is good. So cash flow is key in many businesses because if you don't have cash flow, you get quiet periods, you get dry periods in some businesses. You get it in our business, and the bills still come in. You've still got to find the money to pay for your rent, and you've still got to find money to pay for wages. So sometimes you want to sell something and you want to make really lots and lots of money on it. Sometimes you've got to kind of close your eyes and think, right, okay, I need to make a little bit less money on this. And I'm more likely to get the job, and that will help with cash flow. And then a big ticket item will come at some point. So kind of like just managing that. Important to manage people. So making sure you know how to manage people and treat everybody, differently, right? You can't treat everybody exactly the same. Everybody responds to different stimuli. So understanding people and working with them. So I think that's key.
Yeah.
Making sure that, and we covered this earlier, making sure that you're moving with the times, change your approach if something isn't happening. Don't get stuck in your ways.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. And making sure that you network, make sure you're networking and make sure that, you've got a big selection of people to work around and to bounce ideas off of.
Of course.
I think that's also key.
Yeah, that's really important. And a lot of the points you mentioned, they're also transferable as well.
100%.
All right, so let's talk about life lessons. So, how old was you when you first got into the business?
Oh, cool. Well, do the calculations, do the maths. I'm awful with maths. So I must have been, 22 or 21?
Yeah, 21.
Or maybe older, 24.
All right, so that's it.
Something like I was in my early 20s.
Yeah. All right, so let's say 22. So from 22 to 39, what will be like the 5 biggest life lessons that you've learned in your journey?
I would say the biggest one for me is learning to put money aside, whether it's in savings or whether it's in an ISA or whether it's speaking to an independent financial advisor to make your money work harder, because it's as you get older you realize time flies. It's like the time between 30 to 40 just flies by, because you're just what happens as you get older, you work harder, and there's less hours in the day, and the hours that you do have, maybe on the weekend or when you have a day off, you need to fill doing loads of other activities, and you find that it does fly. You think, wow, where are those 10 years gone? And you look, if you look in your bank and you think, do you know what these savings, and currently, unfortunately, with the bank accounts, you don't really get much now. The interest rates are really low. So for me, it's like, I would say, make sure that your money is working harder for you. That's really key. So however you do that, whether you do invest your money or it's I think that would be my number one thing that I would say that I wish I'd done better. Kind of investing my money. All about compounding, right?
Compound.
You earn money. You earn a little bit of interest this year. Next year, if you still got that money, you're earning interest on your interest. So it's a famous Einstein quote. So that would be my number one. Number two, believe in myself more. When I was younger, I didn't really believe in myself. I didn't really have a mentor to help me when I was very, very early on in my life. So I think it's very easy to put yourself down, to say, no, really, I don't think I can do this, or I don't think I'm good enough to do this, or I'm afraid, So believing in yourself a little bit more. I think number two. Number three, again, we've covered this, is finding a mentor or have someone that you can be around, someone that's better than you.
It's got more experience than you.
Exactly. Be around people that are better than you, and don't be afraid to learn from them. You can get into a very comfortable position being around people that maybe are on the same level as you, or maybe people that aren't as ambitious as you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be around those people, but some of those people will be your best friends, and they're good people. But business-wise, or even on a personal development side of it, I think being around people that are better than you, that you can learn off of, I think is key as well.
Of course. And have you got any two more life lessons?
Life lessons. Okay, there's two more. I think in terms of loving yourself, that's something else that I don't think we do enough of. And I do genuinely think that we get so engulfed in wanting to do well in our careers that we don't love ourselves.
You think you're saying don't be too hard on yourself.
Just appreciate who you are. I really feel for the young generation, at the moment, because I look at social media now,
Mm.
and if that was me when I was like a teenager, and I was looking at all these people doing what they do on, they show us their highlight reel of their
Yeah.
life, and you think to yourself, wow, look at the life they lead.
Mm.
But I think to myself, well, is that really how they live their lives 24/7?
No.
Yeah, these people can't be living these amazing lives 24/7. They're going to have hard times. They're
Of
going to have
course.
down times, and the problem is, you look at this, and a lot of people, they might think to themselves, well, I want to laugh like this. I want to live like this, but it's not sustainable. You don't live your
Uh-huh.
life being happy all the time. Yeah, you're going to have down times, and I think learning to love yourself and not to look at what other people do all the time and trying to aspire to be like other people,
Mm.
is really important. Kind of like, if you see someone else and see what they're doing and you think you like it, you know what? See if you can do it. If you can't, don't worry about it. But maybe try and do something similar or something that you can do that's slightly, even if it's not as good as or something similar to what they've done. But don't try and mimic someone else because you are who you are, right?
Yeah, definitely you can try and improve yourself, but always stay true to yourself, you know.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. So that would be that's key. And then I think the last one would be find time to do things that you enjoy,
Definitely, definitely.
because talking about we were talking about getting older, me moving into my 40s.
Mm.
Have I done everything that I've really wanted to do? And do you know what? It's not even things like like buying things. It's not a lot of the things that aren't monetary. Like I think I wanted to do more walks,
Yeah.
or get on my bike and just ride somewhere,
Mm.
or go and see friends, or there's so many different things that I would have loved to have done more of if I had more time.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think putting all those things together, going back to the money, making your money work harder for you,
Yeah.
so you've got more money in your pocket. It may give you then a bit more freedom in time, so you have more time to do things that you want to do,
Mm.
to learn to appreciate yourself, learn to love yourself, and then that will then kind of progress and move forward. And then you may find that you have a bit more money to invest, a bit more money to buy the things that you want to buy. You'll be happier. You'll be able to grow a family if you want to do that, if that's important to you, or grow your business, or do whatever you want to do. It's I think all those things, just kind of put them all together, I think it's so important,
Of course, and
and it can really work for you.
especially you mentioned that we only have a limited amount of time before you get old, and sort of money has to live up to the time you spent. So now I'm more of an emphasis on working harder and saving. Also, I want to put more of an emphasis on time. So instead of spending my money on frivolous things, I'd rather put a certain amount aside and go on a nice holiday. Especially now we're coming out of lockdown, you're going to enjoy vacations a lot more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you will do. Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of people that really want to get away at the moment.
yeah,
Obviously, we can't leave the country at this time
of course.
through this pandemic. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that do want to get away, and take that time for themselves.
Mm.
You see it a lot at the moment with mental health.
Yeah,
It's getting away, doing things. Things like your freedom. I think maybe this pandemic's really made people realize how important your freedom is, and being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
yeah.
We're deprived of that recently, and a lot of people are suffering at the
Yeah,
moment.
the nation's pretty much been on house arrest. Are you still there? Yeah, as I was saying, we've pretty much been on house arrest the last year or so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no, we
yeah,
have. It's been very, very difficult, and I mean, I have friends that don't really have many hobbies,
yeah.
or they live on their own.
Mm.
So it's been very, very difficult for them because they weren't able very early on to go and see their families, to see their friends, and it has been tough. I mean, I'm very lucky in that I enjoy exercising.
Yeah.
So, when in lockdown, I'd jump on my bike and I'd go cycling, locally. And then when things were relaxed, I'd go a little bit further out, So, exercise is really important,
Mm.
frees up your mind and, gives you a clear mind. Yeah, when I exercise, that's when I like to think about work.
Okay, yeah, your mind, your heartbeat is moving at a pace. You got more time to think in a productive manner rather than
Yeah.
yeah,
I think when you exercise, your
yeah,
endorphins. Things happen in your body. Good things happen in your body. I mean, I'm no kind of expert, but I'm sure you agree. When you've done a bit of exercise, when you've gone to the gym, Vinny, and you've
yeah.
done a workout, you feel good when you come
Of
out, right?
course, yeah,
Yeah. So I think with any type of exercise, you can do that, especially when you're feeling low or feeling down.
yeah,
If you can get yourself out for a run or a cycle or go down to the gym or whatever you enjoy, even going for a walk, you'll feel better when you come back of out the other end of it. And if you can go with someone,
mm,
and bounce some ideas off each other. If you're feeling down for a personal reason, you've got someone you can talk to about
yeah,
it. Kind of guaranteed. You'll feel slightly better because you've
of
offloaded it off,
course.
someone else.
And you know how you mentioned exercise? Do you want to hear something funny? Like I came up with the idea of this show when I was on a run.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
I can believe that.
It's so funny you mentioned that. Yeah, literally, I was on a run one day and I was thinking to myself, I've always,
What did you say to yourself? Come on, you were running. You were running.
yeah, I was running,
What were the exact words in your mind?
and I was just thinking how, like, you said with work, and you only have a limited amount of time, and how the pandemic, everything's been restricted. I just thought to myself, you know what? I've always wanted to do like a show or like a podcast where I can get influential and interesting people on. I just thought to myself, you know what? Screw it. Let me just do it.
Yeah. What I truly believe that we are very, very lucky to be in this country because I look at people, younger people in different countries, all over the world, and there are some people that just don't have a platform to do anything.
Yeah.
We're so lucky here that we have a good health system. We've got a fantastic platform to start a business in this country.
Yeah.
And we have the support from banks if we need that. There's so much going for us for this country. The only thing is, it's hard work.
It is.
Nothing comes easy.
Yeah,
nothing comes easy. But the platform is there to be able to do something. So, to anybody that's got an idea or something that they want to do, try it, go for it, and don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid to fail. I mean, if you look at Donald Trump, as an example, he started so many businesses, and lots of them have gone under. Yeah. But what he's done is he's learned from those businesses that have gone under and made mistakes, and started more businesses, and then they've flourished.
And that's what I always say to people and to myself as well. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. It only really takes that one victory, and then you'll be good.
Yeah, 100%. Look at you can look at business. You can also look at sport. Look at AJ, Anthony Joshua. Yeah, champion of the world, amazing fighter. Got taken down by Louise. I think his surname was. I can't remember now. And everybody thought, oh man, the guy's done. He's lost to this guy. What happened? What did he do? He dusted himself off, picked himself up, trained harder, and beat him on the second attempt. So you've got to give him so much credit for that because and this can be exactly the same in business and also in your personal life. You'll get knockbacks.
Definitely.
You'll get knockbacks, but sometimes you just need to learn to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and carry on.
100%. And I just wanted to ask you a question that sort of hits close to home for myself, and I'm sure it hits close to home to a lot of people. What advice would you give someone? Let's say they're in their late teens, early 20s, they're just finishing school, and they've got no idea what they want to do with their life, and they're just trying to figure it out. And they say they're not sure what industry to go on. They don't have a clue what they want to do. They're just starting from the ground level.
Okay, so I guess that, you know what? I'll tell you what I
Yeah.
did, but this was right for me.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily mean it will be right for anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a very kind of my work ethic is like, you know what? I work hard, and I feel if I work hard, I'll get to where I need to
Yeah.
be. I wasn't very like, you know, I was always a worker. So I thought, you know what? I want to go out and just work. I don't want to study
Uh-huh.
anymore. And you know, but I went to school back in the day when you could leave school at 16.
Wow.
I think now you've got to stay. You've got to stay a lot
I
older
think
now.
it's
So I
17,
left.
18.
I just started working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just started working. I jumped into different jobs,
Mm.
and I just learned more about myself. I then decided that, you know what, I really enjoy catering.
Yeah.
So I went back into college
Mhm.
and studied catering. Then I became an area sales manager in several restaurants,
Okay.
and realized, you know, I like the kitchen industry. You know, I like, but I didn't really like the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
And then obviously this kind of opportunity fell on my lap where I, you know, can design kitchens. So,
Mm.
you know, and then, you know, I fell in love with the whole kind of like the sales side of it, you know, being able to use the computer drawings to design, project management. So this kind of like has a bit of everything for me. I just like grafting, you know, grafting hard.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's a difficult one to answer for so many different people are, you know, will have different mindsets on what they want to do. Some people might say, do you know what, I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna go to university. You know, some people need a break. You know, I've had friends that have taken, you know, they've travelled for a year.
Yeah.
You know, they could, you know, and you know they need the time to think. Some, you know, it's a very very difficult question to answer. I mean, what did you do?
So I basically I went from sixth form to university, but even towards the end of my sixth form days, I sort of I got inspired. I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it talks about financial freedom, and it says like a base level about property. And from reading that book, I sort of had like a blueprint or a layout of what I wanted to do in my life. So I knew that I wanted to get into property, and I knew that I wanted to work towards a sort of passive income of like financial freedom, right? But I knew that it
Yeah.
was a long way to get there. And then after that, I sort of I originally wanted to take the apprenticeship route, which is like, you know, learn a trade, get into plumbing, you know, learn a trade in general. And I just thought to myself, you know what, like starting at £3 an hour, like doing that for a year, that's not something I really want to do, you know. And then after that, I just thought to myself, that there was like stuff going on in the background of my family to do with law, and I'd done a work experience / internship at law firm when I was younger. I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to get into law. And then, funny enough, I got into the thing I specialised in was property law. And I thought, you know what, I'm literally covering two avenues which I've got a passion for. I've got a passion for property, and I've got a passion for law. So I went into that, and that sort of knowledge I've acquired during my degree, it helped myself and it helped my family. And then after I attained the degree, it was honestly, just because you have a degree doesn't mean that you're going to walk into a good job.
Yeah, no, you find that a lot. You find that a lot of grads, you know, they struggle to find work sometimes, depending on what industry they've decided to go into.
Definitely, and I literally out of university, I faced a lot of rejection. I was probably rejected from 100+ jobs. But you chin up, you keep your head up, and you soldier on. And then one of my neighbours, he was a director in a sort of like shipping company / like removal company, and he got me a job in there. So I'd done that for like almost a year. And that sort of job, you're in a very like labour intensive environment. Like I learned a lot about operations as well. That sort of job taught me about the hard graft. and I learned a lot of lessons from that, from the point of view of, just crafting, it sort of taught me the meaning of hard work in a way as well. And so after that, the pandemic hit, and then I just thought, you know what, sod it, I'm gonna keep trying to get into law, property law, or get into property in general, because either or is fine with me, because my passion is in property. I don't care if I pursue it through law or through as a realtor. I'm still going to chase that passion. And then eventually I applied for over 300 jobs during when the pandemic first hit, and so 300 jobs included both property law jobs and realtor jobs, and I got about, I'd say, 6 interviews, and I got turned down from pretty much most of them, and the ones that did consider me, that I was about to get into, they wanted me to be stuck at a very minimum wage position for the next 2 years, and that's not for me. I'm all about growth. I'm all about improvement. Anyway, so my friend sent me an advertisement, and I've been in this sort of the rental industry ever since. Hold on, 1 minute. Yeah. So that's what happened with me.
I mean, I'm really, really proud of you, because what you've gone through, through your personal life and also your work life, it's been pretty eventful. So, it sounds like what you've done is you decided, you did a little bit of further education, because you felt that was right for you at the time, and then you went out into the industry, still not knowing what you really wanted, but through the different jobs that you had, you started finding out what you, and then through that you found what your passions were, and that kind of lead you to the kind of job that you wanted. And it's slightly different to my journey, because I didn't go into further education, but all the little jobs that I had helped me to learn what my passion is. So again, you see, so 2 different avenues, but kind of getting to where we really want to be. I mean, obviously you've still got a long journey ahead of you, because I know that eventually you want to have your own business, which is amazing. Equally, if there's people out there that just are happy, working in a department store, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to be a mechanic and just want to be a mechanic working 9 to 5, 5 days a week or 6 days a week, that's also fine. I think the important thing is that it's finding what your passion is, and finding something that you're going to enjoy, because if you are going to do it for 20, 30, 40 years, even if you're going to do it for a couple of years, make sure you're doing something that you enjoy doing.
Exactly. And in the second sort of financial freedom podcast I did with my mate Joe, we sort of spoke about you might have to be in a 9 to 5 for the next 5 to 10 years before you do what you enjoy, but try and sort of make sure that your job or your 9 to 5 is in the industry you want to get into, so that, let's say, if you eventually do branch out into business, you've already gained the experience and expertise from your job. You can just transfer it into your business,
Yeah, because there's loads of transferable. Generally, that you find that there's a lot of transferable skills in most jobs that you're doing. I think even if you get into a job that you feel, I know this is not right for me, but this is my only choice. I think my suggestion would be, well, what can you learn from that? What kind of life experiences can you learn from that? What kind of people skills can you learn from that? So that when you come away from that job, although it's not what you wanted to do, you've learned something. You've taken something away from it. It's like a relationship with a partner, with a girl. Every time you break up with someone, it's never nice breaking up, but I bet you've learned something from that, and you've grown from that.
Most definitely. I've learned what not to go for.
Exactly. Problem is sometimes you end up going for the same thing again.
Yeah, just different marketing, different presentations.
Exactly.
Funny you mentioned about the transferable skill, regardless of the industry. I'll give you an example. So when I was at the shipping company, Like I was dealing with a lot of live deliveries that you had to. It was like operation based, where you have to make sure that the right delivery goes into the right container, getting shipped to the right country, right? And that sort of aspect of it, I've applied it to the industry I'm in now, because now I deal with a lot of property management. So now I'm sort of good at allocating resources and and knowledge and that sort of stuff, and time management as well. So there are a lot of transferable skills.
100%. Even if you decide to go work in, I don't know, say you decided to go and work for McDonald's, right? You're just serving behind the counter.
Mm-hmm.
You're there. You're learning. One, obviously how McDonald's work, but you're learning like the operating systems on how to navigate. How to put orders into the system, as an example. You're learning how to cook a burger or cook fries. You're learning how to, your people skills around your colleagues.
100%.
You're learning the relationship between yourself and management. There's so many different things that you're learning. Just working behind the counter at McDonald's. And then you've got to look at things, right? Okay, well, do I enjoy working at McDonald's? Okay, what kind of opportunities are there? Right, so you can say, well, I can move into like a management side. So move up through the chain. You could go and work at McDonald's head office. Which is in North London or Northwest London somewhere, I think. You can just like to open up your own franchise, your McDonald's franchise. You might say, I want my own store. I think with every job, I think what you need to do is look at the opportunities there. If that's what you enjoy doing, what are the opportunities? What's the progression that you can have within that industry?
Of course. There's a lot of it just goes to show, just because you're in something you consider like ground level, base level, doesn't mean you're trapped there. There's a lot of opportunity you can build from it, and if you can't build from it, there's always skills you can take from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you think about it, if you did start off as making chips or at McDonald's, and then you worked your way up to management, and then you did manage you managed a store, let's say, for a couple of years. Those management skills that you learned there are transferable to another company. So you can either start your own business, because you would have learned those essential core management skills, or you can go to another company in the same industry or in a completely different industry, because you've got those management skills. Effectively, I learned at a very young age that what I learned in business and running my own business is something like, you go up to MUQ level 3 or 4 or 5, I think it is. I can't remember where it is. It's almost like I didn't go to university. I didn't do all the additional learning that many other people have done. But what I've learned on site, being running this, and is equivalent to having 3 or 4 years of further education.
And it's probably even more valuable because you're like boots on the ground, getting a life experience. You're not just learning from a lecturer or from a book,
Yeah. You're learning to communicate with people. So if you come up against someone in a job interview, right, and you got someone that's just come out fresh out of university that has certain kind of set of qualifications, or you have someone with the life experience and have actually lived it and worked it and have the experience to do a job. If the job role isn't qualification, like as when I say qualification, like you've had to do exams and you need this particular qualification to get the job. If that's not relevant or not as important, me personally, I would go with experience over just purely education.
Of course, because the experience.
That's my. That's. I mean, you couldn't do. You couldn't do it. Let's say, I don't. You wanted to be a surgeon. You want to make sure that someone's got experience and they've also got all their qualifications. There's certain industries you need it, but if someone came to me and said, "Well, I've done 2-3 years doing design work in university," versus someone that's done 2-3 years working at Magnet, as an example, or Howdens or B&Q on the kitchen side, I think, do you know what? I might give it to the person that's worked in the industry already, because they've already had the skills sets to deal with customers and, real life experiences of having to design a
kitchen. But you know what? That's understandable. I agree with that. But you know what was aggravating for me? Because when I came out of university with a degree and limited experience, even like the base salary law jobs or the base salary property jobs, they wanted to give you pretty much close to minimum wage. They wanted people with 2 years minimum experience, and I'm thinking, like, how are you supposed to provide that experience if you haven't even got through the door yet? You understand?
Yeah. I mean, what one advice I would give with things like that is, again, when you're younger, you've probably got a little bit more time. I mean, I don't know how intensive. I don't know how intensive kind of that education is now. Obviously, I haven't been in school for a while, but my advice would be, if you are going through university and you have time, if you know what industry you want to be in, you can get some work experience.
Yeah, part-time jobs
in these places. Try get in there early. Get show that commitment early on, because if you can get in there early before, maybe a year before or 2 years before, they know you. They've got to know you. They can see how hard you work. When it's time and you've got your qualifications, you can go back to them and say, look, listen, Mr. Director or President of that company, I've worked here a couple of years. I've got my certificate now. What's your, are there any opportunities? So you kind of like nipped it in the bud on both ends. You've got that experience with that particular company and you've got your certification.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that about even when you're at university, it'll be good to do a part-time job. When I was doing my degree, I worked for an events agency, and I was doing like a lot of sort of like bar work in stadiums. I even did a thing, you know what hawking is?
No, I don't know.
So hawking is you carry basically a big rucksack with like massive barrels of alcohol on your back, and you walk around the stadium and you're literally serving people drinks. And it was a good experience. It was good. Like obviously, I learned how to use a cashier. I never knew how to use a cashier before that, but it was good, and I learned how to pour a proper pint and those sort of things. But that experience taught me what I don't want to go into. It was probably one of the worst, least enjoyable jobs I've had.
But you learned something.
But I learned something from it, exactly.
Try. But you did the right thing. You've taken a positive from a negative.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you realise that, what, this is not what I want to do. I hated it, but you know what? Moving forward now, you can learn through that experience. You can say, right, this is what I know I don't want to do. So if something does come up, you'll be like, you know what? Thank you very much for the opportunity, but I'm not interested.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, like I'm glad I learned from that earlier and nipped it in the bud, because the last thing I'd want to do is get into that in the future and realise like that's something I hate when I've got more commitments.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good thing that you came out of it, because the other thing is that, and this happens a lot. You get stuck in a rut. And you get stuck in jobs that become kind of like they you don't enjoy them anymore. And some people are really stuck because obviously they may be the only breadwinner in the house. They are they don't have anybody else earning. You've got a family, so and you don't want to move because you're afraid that things might happen, or you may move to another job and you might lose your job. Some people become very comfortable, and they feel safe in a particular job, and they're just happy to go with the flow and just and the thing is, you find that a lot of people will complain about things like that. So I think that this is why it's so important at a young age to find yourselves and to figure out what you want to do early on, and then try and make sure you've got the drive to put those goals in your mind and think, this is what I want. Definitely. How am I going to get there?
Definitely. And now I'm just so glad that I've had the experience of working jobs I don't like, let's say even when I was in the shipping company, at first I did enjoy it, but it wasn't something I'd wanted to do for the rest of my life. But I still learned, operation skills. I learned, the meaning of a hard graft. Actually like lifting up heavy stuff, like lifting up tables and cabinets and stacking them into containers like that. That taught me, craft and hard work. And now, the industry I'm in, I'm far from where I want to be financially, but I enjoy it. I enjoy, making deals. I enjoy property management. I enjoy talking to people. And I'd say, the previous role taught me the definition of hard work, but this role has sort of made me more confident. It taught me, the art of the deal. It taught me a lot about human nature. It taught me a lot about dealing with people, and to be honest, without the role I'm doing now, where it forced me to make me confident, I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast.
Yeah. No, and this is why I'm so proud of you, because you're doing an amazing job at what you're doing now with this. I mean, this podcast is, like I say, it's awesome, bringing all these people together. But yeah, what the journey you've made, everybody's going to make a similar journey, but they're all going to take different roads. And exactly. So, and we're all going to end up in the same place. Unfortunately, we're all going to end up in our graves at some point in our lives. They say that there's two things in life that are for sure: death and taxes.
Yeah.
Right. So, whatever route you take, you just want to make sure that you take the most efficient route, and try and learn from your mistakes, try not to make the same mistakes over and over again. And, and just get to where you want to be. And again, whether you want to try and strive to be a millionaire, or whether you're just completely happy, with a 9-to-5 job, working in a superstore, like a food store. If you're happy doing that, that's also fine. Yeah. Everybody, people make the world go round. Yeah. We need people working those stores. We need millionaires. We need people that run businesses. We need different types of people. And I think, I just don't think, people often say, "Oh, I've got to do better for myself."
Yeah.
What is that better for yourself? What is, it doesn't have to be that you've got loads of money in your pocket. Yeah, if that's what you want, great, go for it. Reach for the stars.
Everyone has different perception of happiness and success.
Exactly. Yeah. So that would be my personal, my key to success is find what you're happy, and just aim for that.
Definitely. And there's a saying which I sort of learnt recently. It goes a little something like, "You're born with nothing and you die with nothing, but it's what you do in between that matters."
100%. Exactly. And try and make sure what you're doing in between that is things that make you happy, and whether it's family or whatever it is, whether it's kind of like scaling Everest, or just chilling in front of your TV, playing PlayStation. I don't know. As long as everything's within, everything's in moderation. Do what you want to do.
Yeah, but I'm a strong.
But remember what your goals are. Never kind of lose sight of what your goals are and where you want to be in life. Because if you do that, then you end up in a very slippery slope, and you end up where you don't want to be.
Of course, but I'm a strong believer of purpose. I believe I'm the sort of person that likes to say everything happens for a reason. So I'll get back to the job example. Just because I was working in in a stadium doing hawking, a job that I absolutely hated, it steered me in the direction I'm going now. So I feel like everything is a piece of the puzzle. Everything has purpose to it, but it's down to you to navigate it in that direction.
Yeah, no, agree. Agree.
All right, Gero, so we've been on for about an hour. Say, is there anything you'd like to say in conclusion? Any message you'd like to give to the audience, or any your last sort of words?
Well, what I'd say is that right at this very time and moment, we're going through a very difficult time in everybody's lives, financially as well as mentally. I think the most important thing right now is to make sure that we are all communicating, and if you can, support each other, because we will get through this, and we're almost there on the other side now. But I think more than ever, we need to be supporting each other on many different levels. So if you can give your time to someone, whether it's just a phone call to someone that maybe is living on their own at the moment, it can go a long way. Or if you are looking to start a business, make sure you're talking to people and communicate. And I think that would be my key kind of like message from this.
I agree with that. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and I'm glad you enjoyed the content, and you also got involved as well, and I highly appreciate it. I'm sure the listeners will gain something from this segment as well.
Yeah, well, listen, keep up the good work. I'm loving the content. And if anybody has any questions, drop Vinny a line. I'm happy to respond by email or have a conversation with anybody that wants to have a chat. So, thank you very much for having me, Vinny.
All right, thank you so much. And all right, people, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to your friends. Until next time.